Hey guys, it's Crossroads here with a special guest, Dan Dolev from Mizuho, an analyst, a senior analyst there. Dan, how are you doing?
Good morning. Doing great. Yeah, of
Thanks for joining me. We
course.
wanted to talk to and have you on just to discuss mostly PayPal. We'll discuss maybe a couple other names in fintech at the end. And if you guys are in fintech at all, I recommend that you definitely follow Dan. He is an expert in this field. So, Dan, what are your top level thoughts on PayPal? It's been, as far as shareholders, painful. Chronically, it seems like we can't get past that 70 level. The market has a perception that PayPal is no longer relevant. It's no longer growing, that they're a dinosaur that's just waiting to die. And payments is not exactly a hot space right now. So overall, what is your view of PayPal right now?
We're actually very constructive on PayPal, and no, I'm glad you asked this because I think the perception is, here's what I think is going on. Like a lot of people that I'm sure a lot of people that listen to this podcast, and a lot of people, like I went to their analyst day last February. I think everyone in the room is an Apple user,
Yeah.
right? So am I. So they don't really see the use case for PayPal, right? Because they're like, I'm using Apple Pay, I'm using Tap to Pay, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But what they're forgetting is that PayPal is a global company and that the form factor, the Apple form factor, is actually a share loser to other form factors like Android on a global basis. And I think
Yeah.
over 80% of PayPal's pre-tax income is international. So, like looking at it myopically through the US Apple ecosystem user lens, you're missing the point. So we're very constructive, but we're trying to see like I always mess this one up. I think forest through the trees. Did I get it
Yeah.
wrong? Okay. Well, I grew up in Israel, so it's like we have different
Idioms. Yeah.
proverbs. Different,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm getting there.
Yeah. Well, so with that, PayPal is definitely a global, massive player, and one of those big shifts that they've done under Alex Chris has been PayPal World, which encapsulates that vision of that global, interconnected wallet. Um, do you like when this was initially announced? I was like, okay, that's interesting. Other than like the Venmo going global, I was like, maybe it'll work out, maybe it won't. And as time goes on, I'm like, okay, they're actually bringing in some very massive wallets and players. What do you think the end goal is with this? And does this ever capture the market's attention?
Yeah, there's a very uh, I'm a big fan of Alex, and I think there's a very small group of companies out there that can actually, become like a global digital wallet. And I think what Alex is doing, he's taking PayPal like one step closer to doing that. I mean, there's literally like you look at see what happens with payments, and I want to just maybe take a different uh, higher level, take this conversation to a higher level.
Sure.
It's very hard to get people to trust an app with their money.
Yeah.
And I think people underappreciate it. So because we're all like, this is not the best, kind of the best way. It's not a diet app. You download it, you try it for like, a day, you give up, and you get a 7-day free trial.
Yeah.
Right? I've been there, done that, right? So it's payments is very different. Payments is trust. And not even Twitter, right? So Elon's been like very, outspoken about trying to get into, trying to get all these licenses. Like not
Right.
even like not even, Twitter is as important as they are, have not succeeded yet. Like people don't perceive Twitter as a payments company. People don't perceive WhatsApp, which is ubiquitous, right? I use WhatsApp all day long, right? I talk to people in Europe, I talk to people in Israel. Literally the whole world uses WhatsApp with the exception of China, and I found out Japan too for some reason, but
Hmm.
everyone else uses WhatsApp all the time in America. But they don't use it for payments.
Yeah.
So PayPal has that gene, and that's so valuable. So I think that what you're saying, kind of going back to your question, I think that vision of sort of global digital wallet, um, and we'll talk more about buy now, pay later, et cetera. I think it takes time, but PayPal has like the best shot at getting there.
Yeah, yeah, and I agree. Like its size matters too. If it's just like a small wallet that was just starting out, it'd be hard to get, Mercado Pago, for instance, or UPI on board. And now that they're on board, like I kind of view it as like a critical mass. At some point, there's going to be enough massive players there that you won't be wanting to be on the outside looking in. Just because you're like, okay, if there's right now there's 2 billion people that'll be interconnected. What if it goes to 3 or 4, and then at that point, it makes more sense than not just to be a part of PayPal world. It's accretive to, of course, the partners there, but also to PayPal since they're underlying it. Uh,
I agree with that. And by the way, I just wanted to maybe, I call this like it's like the Discovery show, the
yeah,
Mythbusters. Like people think that they're losing share, and I should have mentioned it before. They're not losing share. They're just not exposed. This is unfortunate, right? They're not exposed to kind of the high flying e-commerce giants like Shop and
yeah,
Amazon. But we've done work that shows you that on the in on a weighted average basis on the to the merchants that they're exposed to, they're growing 5 to 6%.
yeah,
Like whether it's Macy's, Bloomingdale's, like it's like a big long kind of long tail of merchants. They're growing pretty much in line with their merchants. So I think that again speaks to this sort of perception that they're a share loser, but they're really not.
yeah. When you're missing out on, yeah, and they do have a deeper partnership now with Shopify than they had, 6 months ago. But uh, when you're missing out on the high flyers and the quick growers, it does lend to that perception. But yeah,
Hmm.
we're continuing to see revenue growth. And I was going to ask you about that, so I'm glad that you brought that up.
Yeah, sure.
One of those misperceptions, I think, for PayPal as well. Top line revenue growth, it was 5% this last quarter. I believe 1% the prior quarter as well, and a lot of that was due to the Braintree strategy shift, where they had these conversations. They're like, "Hey, let's go ahead and take less volume in return for higher margin," just because they're really addressing that bottom line. And that was one of those chronic issues under the prior leadership. So, do you think that this was a mistake going in the strategy? Because it's clear that PayPal's still stuck as far as a stock where it's at. People are more focused on the top line right now for a lot of companies than the bottom line. Or is this a strategy that you think that proves out over time?
Um, that's a good one. Let me answer it in a different way. I think that when you're running $1.5 trillion of platform of $1.5 trillion of volumes, there's many different ways you can make margin.
Yeah,
So you don't necessarily need to make margin everywhere. So I mean, whether or not it was a mistake, I mean, time will tell. Definitely, I remember back in the day when pricing went like really low, that Adyen was like a big share loser, and Adyen missed a couple quarters or
yeah,
semesters or whatever they report, uh, based off of because of the Braintree price slashing, and then Alex Chris came in, raised pricing again, and then volume started tanking. I mean, I've always thought that let me put it in a different way. I've always thought that like that Dan's strategy back in the day was actually not bad because they were um it was helping PayPal get higher up
hmm,
on the branded checkout stack. So I'm not 100%. I'm a big fan, as I said. I'm a big fan of Alex and I'm a big fan of the team, but I'm not sure I 100% understand why you need to raise pricing on this Braintree and not use it as, let's call it, like a loss leader. But I think that also speaks to kind of my lack of understanding of the ins and outs of what's going on there. So there has to be Alex is a smart guy, so there has to be some sort of an explanation for that.
yeah. And on Alex, he's been there a couple of years now. And when he first came in, I appreciated his candor that he was very straight with where the company was at and where they need to go in the future direction. I know that you're following PayPal prior to Alex. I was as well. Were there any surprises that came out with the situation of PayPal as Alex took over that you're like, maybe I didn't understand how strong they were here, or the opportunity that was there, or really where they were missing and lacking?
I think that yeah, I think the buy now pay later edge was not well understood at all, and I think it was actually kind of, smart on his side to basically incorporate the buy now, pay later. So I'm sure you know that, but maybe it's good to explain it to the audience. So
Yeah.
what PayPal did under Alex is basically they changed the way people define the branded checkout button. Where, the core branded checkout button was the big issue, but also so the most profitable business, right? In terms of you charge over 3% sometimes for merchants to use that in terms of the merchant discount rate. So just to give you some perspective, right? You've got
Hmm.
PayPal is like just a hodgepodge of different um, ecosystems. You've got the branded checkout button, which is very profitable. You've got Venmo, which is not as profitable. You've got Braintree, which is not as profitable. So this is kind of goes back to, you know, my point about sort of different ways of making money. So within that branded checkout button, they now added pay with Venmo and buy now, pay later. And those three components are the new definition of the branded checkout button. And I think it was actually really smart because my understanding is that they're crushing Klarna in Europe in buy now, pay later, literally crushing them. This is what I'm hearing. And that is a really, 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 really good point because this helps accelerate the branded checkout button. And if it works the way I think it's going to work, you're going to get a massive acceleration in like towards the end of the year, maybe early next year. And then to your point from the beginning of the podcast, the stock's going to start working. So I didn't appreciate, going back to your question, I didn't appreciate how important buy now, pay later was to the story until Alex Chris came over.
Yeah, and likewise, I thought buy now pay later was accretive, and it was nice to have, but not really necessary. And that really, I think, was my felt understanding of the future Generation Z in particular, that is credit card and debt adverse, that they tend to flock towards debit cards and also buy now pay later products instead of the traditional credit card. And the nice thing about Alex is you can see he's got it the entire time. That he was talking about Venmo from the very beginning. They've scaled out a massive amount of debit cards. They've shifted to PayPal for omni-channel payments. I don't know if you saw this, but there's 5 million debit cards that have been issued in Germany since they launched that
Mm-hmm.
campaign. So a million each year. And of course, they're giving a lot of attention towards buy now, pay later, which all helps reach that next generation. With buy now, pay later itself, of course, they're offering some pretty nice cash back opportunities, which is basically offsets their whole take rate on that. They had a partnership with Blue Owl as well. Do you think that those things, uh, is the goal there really just to capture more market share on buy now, pay later, or to really continue to drive that payments button, or what's the overall strategy with that? Do you think?
Because I think because the yardstick right now to measure uh, PayPal is that branded checkout growth.
Hmm.
My understanding is the goal right now is, I mean, obviously profitable growth, but the goal right now is to is land grab and refute the bear thesis, which is the terminal value is zero, right?
Yeah.
Like if you think about this, you talk to the average investor, they're like, why, like this is, but to refute that thesis, you need to show signs of life, right? You need to show
Mhm.
that there's, something good brewing at PayPal. And like one of the ways to do that is to your point, offer like big rewards on buy now, pay later to get more adoption. And it's already there. I mean, my understanding is they're coming in it where merchants don't like to work with Klarna. A lot of merchants in Europe, and this is something we've heard multiple times, right? So Klarna would charge you like an affiliate fee if you're like a smaller merchant, and also
Yeah.
put you on their marketplace. And what my understanding is that merchants don't want that. I mean, I don't blame them. And Klarna is an important player, like don't get me wrong, but the way to fight Klarna is basically to come and say, hey, I'm not going to charge you this. I'm going to, give the consumer better rewards, and then you're creating more adoption, et cetera. So I think this is like a very good strategy, and before you know it, that branded checkout button is going to reaccelerate. Plus the new experience.
Hmm.
is getting, why we didn't talk about that, but the new experience has a huge conversion appeal. And so the combination of the new experience plus all these things, I think, again, macro aside, they've had some hiccups with Timu and some of the, the China tariff issues. There's
Yeah.
just nothing they can do about this. But once you kind of work your way through this, I think the strategy will work out.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's helpful. And on Venmo, I know if I remember correctly, when Alex first came in, you were pounding the table a bit on Venmo and the opportunity that was there. And of course, this is one of those product lines that Alex has probably talked about and given the most attention to. What are your overall thoughts with the direction that he's shifted Venmo over the last 2 years? And is this one of those things where the market maybe is missing the significance of PayPal's import today?
Yeah, I think the Venmo is probably the biggest asset that they have, right? Because it is as 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 bearish as people are on PayPal because they don't use the button. All these people are actually using Venmo on a day-to-day basis. It's just the
Yeah.
transition from P2P to pay with Venmo has been a difficult one, right? Like I even think under, Dan's leadership, like there was pretty big challenge on monetizing Venmo.
Right.
So they're making like a big push into like pay with Venmo. I I would say again, because payments is such a habitual thing, I would say on this one the jury's still out. Like I want to see, it's like because it's such a consumer product,
Right.
like you want to you will feel it if it works.
Right.
And I don't think we're seeing that yet. Like I've not seen any of my Gen Z colleagues, right? I'm not part of that generation. I know I look young, but I'm not. But I've not seen some of those guys, the guys that work with me on the team who are in their, 20s and early 30s, pay with Venmo.
Yeah.
You want to see that starting to gain more traction, and then you know that this is going to start working. But they all use Venmo multiple times a day.
Yeah.
So the opportunity there is huge, right? And I've always thought it makes sense to maybe combine the ecosystems, but that's just me, right? To
Yeah.
basically kind of, because then you can turn, right, what you want to do, or let me put it that way. What you don't want to do is you don't want Twitter to create a global P2P network
No.
or WhatsApp.
Yeah.
So it's not happening right now. Like no one's sending money on, at least no one,
Yeah.
it's so, but you have to move fast. You gotta like, if I were Alex Chris, like you have to move fast. You have to be sort of that. You have to be that guy, and then you can use, we can even talk about this. You could use stable coin, not 300 trillion, but you can use stable coin on this. You can use stable coin in the background. Like there's a lot of like really cool things they need to do, but I mean, you got to do it. This is, you don't want, I'm sure there's a lot of eyes on this opportunity on the global sort of P2P
Right.
network.
Yeah. That's been one of those areas where I probably underappreciated the importance of Venmo, but they're clearly going in the right direction. That making it into one system instead of multiple different silos under PayPal One with the tech stack improvements as well. And of course, we'll be able to actually send money, which it's funny that it took this long and that it took the crypto project, but send money from Venmo to PayPal and vice versa. And of course, in beginning of next year, that Venmo will join PayPal World, and so anywhere PayPal is used around the world, Venmo can also be used. That's very different than most P2P, than the Zells and the Cash apps. Do you think that that's something that would really capture much volume or attention? Or do you think most people just think of Venmo as like, I'm just going to use it here in the United States domestically, I'm going to pay my friends, and that won't gain much traction? Or is it
Yeah,
just really?
that's the key thing, right? Like how do you turn this from a local to like a global, payment, like a payment tool?
Yeah.
I would say the jury's still out. Like I wish I had like a big prediction there, but unfortunately, it's tough because payments is like you go to like every country, and every country has its own Venmo,
Yeah.
right? Like there is a local P2P scheme wherever you go, or even like payment scheme, right? Like every, I'm not even talking about like Pix or UPI.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talking just like local, like you want to send people, someone in Israel, there's a thing called Beat, right? It's owned by the bank, so like a Zelle, right? But so that's kind of how people. But you can pay your bills, you can pay your friends, like it's very easy. So you're not going in into like a green field right now.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah. We'll have to see how it goes. I'm pretty optimistic on it, but maybe I'm
Yeah,
wrong.
same here.
PayPal World helps a lot,
Hmm.
just the interconnected nature. But yeah, it's an early read. That I think that's one of the things for the market is a lot of these projects are just early reads, or they've not given us internal targets as far as guidance. And one of those big pieces is advertising, which it's still early. They've launched and they've had a number of partnerships. I see the ads as well. What are your thoughts as far as the impact of advertisement on PayPal?
So this could be, I mean, this could be huge, right? Like the advertising, anything. Are you talking about the stuff from that person that came from like Uber? Is
Oh
that?
yeah, yeah, Dr. Mark Rather. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, yeah. I
no
think
worries.
yeah. I think everything. Like we've done work around this. Like they're not just advertising, just anything, right? Like we've done work around the opportunity there. I think the ARPU. I think what the story was that he built like $1 billion business under Uber, and you look at the ARPU of some of these things, and it's very incremental, right? Like I think it's like $10-20 incremental ARPU just from advertising, like and like let's say I mean PayPal is like the perfect place for this, right? Because you have you order, if you pay with Venmo, you can get a little, you call out, hey, why don't you order like another, fries or something at the
Yep.
restaurant. So all these like Uber Eats basically. So there's we're very positive about this, and we haven't gotten to B2B, but it's the same vein, right? Like they can like they can basically, like if you think about like Bill.com, right? I think their ARPU there is in the hundreds or thousands, right, on a
Hmm.
per merchant. So if they actually, with 30 million merchants and like 300 million users, this is like again one kind of goes back to what I said in the beginning, which is there's not that many global networks of just two-sided with millions and millions and millions of users and merchants. So it's the same thing, right? You can use that for B2B, you can use that for advertising. I'm very bullish. But that being said, it's very hard. It's two things. It's very hard to move the needle on, you know, what's it like 15 plus billion dollars of net
Yeah,
revenue?
yeah, the
Very,
scale.
very
Yeah,
scale, right? It's very hard to move the needle. And two, remember, they get judged right now by the growth of the branded checkout button. So you, as an analyst, I could tell you the buy side is going to care about all these things if that works. So this is more just like kind of going back to sort of tricks of the trade, right? So the market always looks for what's not there.
right.
It'll always, yeah, I mean, it'll always look for the lowest common denominator or the weakest link. So if there's doubt about the organic growth of the branded checkout button, I mean, look at what happened 2 quarters ago. And sorry
Yeah,
to kind of digress here, but like, look at what happened. Like something they said allowed investors to back into the fact that the business was growing like low single digits in the US. And that was like a revelation because we always thought it was like 5%. So you could triangulate into that. And that's why the stock took a dive.
yeah,
So
for
you
sure.
want to refute these worries before you can benefit from the fruit of those incremental revenue streams. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I appreciate. I see a lot of releases, and then I'll see analysts with moving price targets around, and I'm like, I wonder, what they're really looking for. And I'll read the notes, and and see, from a good number of those. But no, that's helpful. Just have insight into the mind of an analyst.
It's not, yeah, it's not a lot of fun. It's not a lot of fun in here.
Well, you do it
But
well, so I appreciate what you do, and especially your
thank
coverage
you.
of fintech.
I'm a masochist, so I'm okay with the bad stuff. No, but it is interesting because I've been doing this for a long time, not just for PayPal, but in general.
Yeah,
And I think I have a pretty good understanding of the psyche of the market. And like the market is very focused on this branded checkout button. And as a secondary measure, it's very focused on like the US growth. And
right.
that's a battle that's very hard to win because you really need them to do well on like pay with Venmo, et cetera, for that. So I think the story on the global level is better, and on like the buy now pay later is a huge contributor to that, is a huge story. And I think if that works, people are not going to care what part of those branded checkout button is actually driving growth, as long as the branded checkout button is accelerating.
Right. Yeah. So there's three newer innovations and implementations that PayPal has done, and you don't have to talk about all three. You can if you'd want, but I'm just kind of curious if any one of these that you're like, hey, this is a standout opportunity that the market isn't perceiving, between Fastlane, between PayUSD, their stable coin, and also the work that they've been doing with Claude and Anthropic with agentic commerce. So are any of those, are they just too far out to really get much of a read on, or are you seeing any potential, like really strong opportunity from any of those in particular?
But we've done work on Fastlane. I think that was when we actually upgraded PayPal again last year. I mean, it's the interesting thing is we haven't heard much about Fastlane since then.
Yeah,
And that was a little bit, I wouldn't say disappointing, but it like we thought it would get incremental, right? Because
likewise.
the story was very good, right? The story, correct me if I'm wrong, was that there's a lot of these checkouts that just get, because it makes it really hard. Once and I see that for myself, like once you're asked to put in all your credentials, you're like, okay, whatever, I'm giving up. I've given up so many times. So if you have Fastlane, a lot of these checkout experience become much better, and that should be incremental, and merchants like it because it helps their conversion, so they're willing to give some of the economics to PayPal. So the math makes a lot of sense.
Hmm.
I think we've yet to see like a real fast lane hands-on sort of improvement. On the stable coin thing, it would be very interesting if PayPal is truly able to become a global P2P network. I think then the stablecoin situation would like it will get like a huge, it'll actually re-rate because of that, because you also need, if it's just stablecoin without the perception of a global P2P network, is sort of, kind of half the fun,
Yeah,
right? I mean, I tend to be more reserved on stablecoins. We have actually an underperform on Circle.
yeah,
I think
right.
the business of stablecoin is like, there's going to be a lot of stable coins, but having a stable coin, this. And then on your third thing, wait, remind me again, that was
Agentic commerce.
agentic commerce. Yes. Yeah, that could be pretty big. I mean, we've looked at research that showed that there could be like a 20 to 30%. Everyone's going to have to do agentic commerce. So it's not going to be unique,
Yeah,
right? Shop is doing it, Etsy is doing it,
yeah.
right? There's a
Even
bunch of,
Walmart with that recent partnership with OpenAI. Yeah,
Walmart's doing it. Exactly. So agentic commerce is it's kind of like it's a it's the current, you have to be there to sit at the table. I don't think it's going to be that unique, but you can't fall behind. So
yeah,
I think we've read some research. I think McKinsey published something on, that being like a, you know, double digit, um, double digit boost to e-commerce.
yeah.
And
Okay.
PayPal's pure play e-commerce, you got to be there, right?
Yeah,
So I think, yeah, those things, that's very exciting. But the most unique of the three, at least right now, I think is Fastlane,
yeah.
because that's something that's something where PayPal actually has a moat.
Right.
Whereas agentic commerce is like a me too, and stablecoin is like what requires something else.
It's a commodity. Yeah, yeah.
It's
With
commodity. I mean, everyone has a stablecoin, right? Like, and I'm not sure. Yeah, like we've
yeah,
done research around it. I think it's Well, I mean, people are not going to be paying with stablecoin anytime soon.
No. Yeah, on
And
the
the
merchant
question,
side, it makes sense, but for us consumers, it's like, why would I do
yeah,
this?
yeah. And also like there's always like in payments what people don't understand, and I had that discussion with some of the big retailers too, is like what people don't understand is there's zero incentive on the consumer side
Hmm.
to pay with stablecoin, right? So as long as you're not incentivized, so and then to be able, let's say, for example, let's hypothetically, let's say Walmart wanted to do a stablecoin, they
Hmm.
would need to underwrite 5 years of high rates in order to incentivize the consumers to change their behavior. Remember, kind of back to the beginning of our conversation, um, it's a very habitual thing. Can't
Right.
force someone to pay somehow. It's so hard, right? So I think that's what's gonna. But the P2P angle is interesting on the global level, and B2B. B2B
Yeah.
and P2P, that's something that PayPal can actually like really have an edge over.
So maybe one last question on PayPal, and then I want to pick your brain on a couple other fintechs that you cover
Sure.
as well. So we'll fast forward to 2026. Of course, we've not seen quarter three yet. They'll guide in January for the full year in 2026. But what's outside of branded acceleration? Because you already said analysts are very focused on that. What's one KPI that you're really looking at for PayPal of a measure of success? What you'd most like to see, and what's most important for them?
Um, like user engagement, I think is a big thing, right? So you want to see transactions per user, right? Volumes per user. Those are like really important. It's maybe secondary to the actual volume acceleration, but you also want to see that the people that use the network are actually using it more frequently and not less frequently.
Right.
So that's a big KPI.
I think that's a really good one since they're focusing on omni-channel and omni-channel deployment, making Venmo not just a P2P product. And so if we're not seeing that at all throughout the year, especially as Braintree headwinds have completely abated, there's definitely an issue. So yeah, that's a good
Yeah,
one.
yeah, because you think about this, like think about your iPhone. Like what apps do you open all the time versus what apps like give you, Robinhood, if you're a trader, you open it all the time.
Yeah.
And that's like a very big, that's why it gets such a high multiple. So something that Venmo you use a lot. Now, can you monetize it? Right? You're already there. That's the hidden jewel there, I
Right.
think. It's been like that for a long time. I
Oh
just
yeah.
the opportunity is knocking, but can they actually like pull it off? I don't know. I'm hopeful. My fingers are crossed. I'm a big fan, as I said, of the team, and I we have our we have a outperform rating. I want them to succeed.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm an investor, so likewise. So,
Exactly.
so other fintechs, we're
Yeah.
entering earnings season here. You and I share a couple other names too. So one, of course, is SoFi. SoFi always reports at the same time as PayPal. Somehow, you're able to ask very good questions for both at the same time, which is it's hard enough for me to just follow one at a time and pick and choose. But what are your thoughts on SoFi? What they've been building? And where they're going from here this
hmm
next year.
Thank you for the compliment. I appreciate that. SoFi's great. Like, right? SoFi is been like, and I remember back in like 2 years ago, people were telling me it's a zero, right? And we were like, I was, I, you know, this is kind of a, I've gone through a lot of pain and a lot of agony in the investment community, right? I had like, a lot of people telling me it should trade a book or halftime book or whatever it is, and we were like, no, this is a great company, and like, I think the mistake was that people looked at it as a bank. It is a bank,
Hmm.
but they lacked the vision, and it should be a bank that's basically being valued as a fintech, and I think that's how we always thought about it, and that's what kind of freed our mind from these very rigid valuations. So where's SoFi headed? It's headed into a really good place because if you think about the the you know the LBP, which is the part that we're most excited about,
Same.
because they have such a big brand right now, they're able to basically originate a lot more personal loans without suffering all these rigid kind of like tier one ratio constraints and having to, issue equity to. So all these issues are like a, part of the past. And now there's just so much availability in private credit on the one side and so much demand for these loans on the other side that I think they're going to win. The other thing that they're going to, that's not in the stock at all heading into like 2026 is like mortgage origination. So if rates come down, this is going to be a huge thing.
Right.
So no reason to not be bullish about SoFi. I mean, I don't have a view on like how they're going to do exactly on Q3, but I think like those whatever the yardstick is, I think they're going to beat and raise again. And I think Anthony has a big, you know, big incentive. I think he gets paid a lot of money if the stock holds above a certain level.
Yeah. 25, 35, and 45 weighted
There we
average
go.
over 90 days. Yep.
There we go. So he has a big interest in making it work, and because he's so smart, I think they're gonna do whatever it takes to it's good for shareholders, right? So the incentives are aligned here
Yeah. And you
on
can
everyone.
see, or at least I've seen a change in just even the way he's engaging people on X, the way he's talking in interviews. This is a man that's been a competitor his entire life, and he's incredibly confident right now, and frankly, for good reason. The headwinds, like one of the most shocking things for me, Dan, like recently, is that headwinds. There's been a overhang for any company that's a bank. It's been seen almost as a penalty, and so SoFi was put in a penalty box along with many other banks. And now we're seeing things like this week that Mr. Beast filed for a banking license, a banking permit. So there's a lot of people that are now seeing the opportunity in banking. Of course, SoFi is already there, and he talks about the shift, that the massive tailwinds that they have. So as they go, looking at a year out at SoFi, one of those things that has shifted was the ability to actually have crypto. Once again, they had a crypto platform. How big of an opportunity do you think that is for SoFi, or how meaningful?
Look, they need to be there, right? Because all their other competitors are there. So it's more like, I view this as more just like a necessity for them to offer it, because it's now, you don't get in trouble for offering it anymore, and
Yeah.
some of the big banks are offering it. So it's like a nice thing for them. They sort of need to be there. I don't think of it as sort of because there's always going to be someone else who specializes in crypto who's going to be doing.
Right.
If you're like a real hardcore crypto guy, there's another home for you. But they definitely need to be there since everyone else is there. So
Yeah.
I mean, as long as it goes up, which we hope it will, but I have no idea,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
depends.
Yeah, and they've launched the remittance piece, but there's a lot that I mean we're just have to wait and see what that platform looks like. And it sounds like it's not just going to be you can buy and hold crypto there. That they're talking about entering the payments game as well. Which what are your thoughts on the opportunity there? Noto mentioned, just for some context for our viewers, his big, hairy, audacious goal basically was unlimited capital, unlimited opportunity. What would he do? He's entering payments. And there's been a lot of talk on attempting to do that through crypto. Is that something that, much like PayPal, there's so many people there that it's going to be hard to break in, but possible? Or do you think that they have some advantages just because of their positioning as a bank?
And when you say payments, in what sense? Like in
Um,
store
you-
or?
he's of course there's a peer-to-peer, the international remittance piece, but
Mhm.
also just they've talked about using crypto payments by crypto a number of times. We don't know exactly what that product will look like, when it'll come, but he's talked about it a couple of times. So Of course, they have debit cards, they have credit cards, so they are doing some payments.
Hmm.
But um,
Yeah, I mean, Square is trying something similar, right? I mean, I'm sure you know that they're trying, or Block or whatever. They're trying to, I know I can't keep track. They're
XYZ,
trying XYZ. So, you know, see what comes up next, right? So but and we're big fans. I mean, don't get me wrong, but they've just came up with this thing, which is like Bitcoin payments, and the interesting thing, again, this is more, again, taking it to a higher level. Look, hopefully everything is great. It's just that if you really believe in crypto, why do you want to give it to someone else?
right?
So that would be a big hurdle. I mean, the jury's out. Like we've written about Square and the opportunity with Bitcoin, and I think that we had kind of a catchy title, as per usual. It was like, stored value or value in a store.
Yeah,
Ha, ha, ha,
love that.
right? So that's the thing, right? Because I mean, if you're like a real hodler, like you would want someone like, like the way Gemini does that is actually kind of cool, right? That you're spending USD and you're getting back as reward, you're getting Bitcoin, and we're very bullish on them too. But so
Hmm.
maybe something that looks a little more like a Gemini, maybe like a credit card that offers you crypto rewards. Because I think the
Sure.
mindset of a hodler is very different from the mindset of a non-hodler like me.
Right. Yeah. It like that's one of the reasons why I think stablecoin makes a lot of sense
Hmm.
in payments. It'll take time to scale out versus like actually spending Ethereum, Bitcoin, things that you're like, okay, I don't want to be the guy that bought a pizza for 12 Bitcoin or however much it was. And now, I
Yeah,
don't
that
think he
guy.
regrets that, but yeah.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, exactly. The guy that paid that exactly. But I think that's a huge lesson, right? Because that I think the Square experiment or XYZ experiment is going to be really interesting because this is the biggest real life experiment on whether or not this is a payment mechanism or a stored value.
Yeah. Yeah,
That is the experiment because it's like in store. We'll see if people actually deploy do that.
yeah, I'm skeptical, but we'll
Yeah,
see.
I don't know either. I hope
It,
so. I mean, again, we're hopeful we have a buy on Square. Like hope is
it,
not a strategy, but I'm
yeah.
I
And
don't know. I don't know how it's going to play out.
I have a tiny bit of Square. It's not my favorite company, but Jack is a great products guy. If anybody can pull it off, it is Jack. So
Yeah, I
Robinhood,
mean, we've been saying, right, like just the reason you own Square is because you just don't know what he's going to come up
yeah,
next. He just that's part of like being a genius. It's part of his quiver of arrows, right? Like every every 5 years he comes up with something genius.
that no, yeah. And the thing with Genius is he's not just copying somebody else. He's creating the blueprint. So
Yeah, and then the question with them, and it was a separate podcast, but is the execution after the genius. That has been the issue. It's not the
yeah,
genius, it's the execution. But like you want to own it for this like product cycle that no one's thought about.
hmm yeah.
So
I
yeah,
kind
if
of
you
wish an alternate university was just a CPO or CTO and just was free to creatively
oh yeah,
launch
yeah, yeah.
whatever, and you have like Tim Cook at the head or
The
something.
stock
But
the stock would go up a lot if
oh man,
he basically said, okay, I'm the guru,
yes,
right? He does, you look like a guru, so he could be a guru. Like the transition to a guru is not very hard there.
yeah,
And then let like someone like a real operator do the day to day. I think that's like the perfect combo.
yeah.
We shall see. But yeah, but I mean, Square, we love Square. I mean, we, I think stock should be worth a lot more than it is today.
Yeah. Speaking of stocks that are worth a lot more than they were previously, we share this one as well, Robinhood. What are your overall thoughts on Robinhood and what they've done?
That's like the Rolls Royce of everything,
Yeah.
right? And I know you know Vlad, right? Like that's like the Rolls Royce of everything. Like that's the perfect kind of like everyone should. It's like well, I went to Columbia, but I gotta give credit. It's like a Harvard Business School case study, right? So it's the combination of great idea, great product velocity, insane appetite to continue to succeed, right? So, and it's just always going, like you could see that, we have, like we cover both them and Coinbase, and you can see just that sort of that duo. You can see that Robinhood has an edge in terms of they're thinking faster, they're like moving faster, they're going global, like they're going to Asia, they're going to Europe. Um, they're thinking big. They're going into like prediction markets faster than everyone. Tokenized equities been. So we think of them as like, look, it's a $600 billion TAM that they're eyeing. It's very, very, very structured, and it's got last that event in Vegas, they were going after active traders and legends and social, and then every 3 months there's like another event, and they're targeting another area, and so I think in 5 to 10 years it could be like a $30 billion revenue company at like 70-80% EBITDA margin.
Yeah.
I mean, it's beyond my modeling horizon, but I'm just saying conceptually, I mean, it could be a lot bigger if they're actually executing the continuing to execute the way they did. Again, volatility aside, right? Like you can have, I don't know, what recession, depression, oppression, I have no idea, but I'm just saying the execution there seems great.
Yeah, one of those things. I mean, it's relentless execution. Vlad's talked about these events as a way to, it's show and tell, but that make sure that they're actually ready with the next product line. They announced the AI Day. I'm not sure what that is exactly in December, which is the fourth event. We were just thinking three, and they're like, but wait, there's more. And it seems like
Yeah,
we were both there in Vegas. That there is that kind
correct.
of mentality of they're not just content to do like, hey, let's kick out a few things and have a good time. There's always man, these guys always surprise me. And it seems like almost every one of these events that there's something that they unlock that just unlocks more of that TAM. And one of those big unlocks over the last year has been the predictions market, which, Kalshi is doing amazingly well. Robinhood is, so some have estimated 25 to 35% of the volume of Kalshi is just from Robinhood. There's, of course, some regulator questions. We'll see how it does also if they move internationally, if they acquire. But is this a hugely significant driver of where Robinhood goes in the future, or is it just where are you on the predictions market side of
I
Robinhood?
think it's huge. I think it's huge. I think it's because it's not just sports, right? Like you could basically bet on anything.
Hmm.
And we've done work around this, and I think I might have mentioned it to you when we met, like in Vegas, like we've done work around this. It's the same users, the users of like the DraftKings of the world and the users of Robinhood. It's the same people.
Yeah.
And so I think the genius there, like what Vlad did is like, why not just take those users and just cross sell them other opportunities and Robinhood is like by far, I know you're like,
I do the
Robin is
same.
by far the almost, yeah. Robin is by far like sort of the biggest marketplace for these or opportunity. It gives opportunities for these people to make bets, etc. I think this could be because this could be like uh, well beyond like sports betting or anything. You can bet on anything, and then you can use other people's bets to hedge. So there's just enormous opportunities,
Hmm.
and this is a big trend, and they're the forefront of this trend. I don't do any of that, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not like, I don't know, maybe I'm sort of, I don't know why, but I'm like the exact opposite of betting and gambling, but hey,
Yeah.
to each his own. I think it's character. It's like I'm the but I understand the value, even though I'm not a user, right? It's like I'm like the tobacco analyst that doesn't smoke.
Yeah. There you go. No, I'm kind of there with you. I ended up twice using it just for the sports side, just because I was like, I'm an investor, I'm a user. I should at least do this just to see what the feel is. And initially, it was more of a white label type of product. Now it has the feel of the Robinhood UI, which is always really compelling and good.
It's the best.
Yeah, and I've used it a little bit for intentionally for kind of hedging around rate cut probabilities, and that's worked out well. But yeah, it's
Built
an
on
interesting
the
product line where this wasn't even on the radar a year ago. And it just seems like that time and time again that there's always okay, you guys think of Robinhood this way, but there's more. And
Oh, way more. I remember at the Analyst Day, I think Vlad said like, "Oh, we might get into prediction markets," and like DraftKings or one of these guys just dropped
yeah,
10% on that. Like it was just on the, it was November, I think. Was that November, the Analyst Day?
it might have
They had
been
like a,
New York. Yeah.
yeah, the New York
Yeah,
Analyst Day in
New York.
November.
Yeah, I remember
He
that
just
question.
kind of casually said it, and then the stock, and people were like, "No, no, he's not serious." And we were like, "Yeah." And that's when we did that research, and we were like, "Wait, this is the same people.
Yeah.
Why not just sell them more products?" And it worked.
Let me ask you one more question on Robinhood, and then I'll just kind of open it up and ask what you're looking at over this earnings season for names that we haven't talked about yet. Banking, how real is that for
Oh,
Robinhood?
it's huge. It's huge. It's huge. I mean, let me tell you why. This is the holy grail, right? Remember, like it's sort of like there's many, all roads lead to Rome, and Rome is banking. And the reason for that is because at the end of the day, you want to sit on someone's like, pay slip.
Hmm.
Like, well, hopefully if they have a job, but maybe you sit on their universal income.
Yeah.
But you want to sit on someone's like paycheck at the end of the day, right? Whatever it is, job, universal income, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And that is the key, right? So all these, so we see in fintech, there's many ways to get there. And one of the best ways to get there is what Robinhood's doing, which is I'm going to be your, like your Charles Schwab on steroids, and also give me your banking. And I'm going to offer you banking. Give me your bank account. I mean, a firm is doing it from a buy now, pay later perspective. And at the end of the day, they want to be, they want to look more like your financial institution.
Right.
SoFi just said straight out, we're going to start at it from a financial institution and then go offer you more products later, like you said, crypto. And so it's really all roads lead to that sort of kind of day-to-day paycheck, because that's the key. That boosts, it's a high correlation between that and engagement, because then all of a sudden you have more money. It's not that difficult, right? It's kind of simple. You have more money and it becomes your top of wallet. You do more with it. You're like, oh, let me park it in crypto. Let me do this. Let me do this. Let me do stablecoin. Let me, gamble
Yeah.
on the next sports event. Like it's having money versus having money is better than having no money.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's okay to say that.
Yeah, I mean, like that's reality on an individual level, also as a business level too. So,
So
now
I'm
you
very
cover.
bullish on the banking thing. It's coming
Yeah,
up.
okay, yeah. No, that I was curious. It's for me more of a wait and see what it looks like, but I'm excited. Like they don't release bad products, so
Never seen a
consistently.
bad product. And again, I'm not a user, but I've never heard bad feedback. I mean, I
Yeah.
think you mentioned some of that at you know, in Vegas.
Hmm.
They definitely talked about it in that big auditorium
Yes. Yeah.
about the opportunity. So I think it's gonna happen.
Yeah. Immense opportunity there. Now you cover a lot of names beyond just the three that we
I
focused
know.
on.
That's why I'm tired all
So
the time.
yeah. So, like this earnings season, are there any, for at least for me, I have about 10 companies that I follow and track pretty closely. And so there's always some that I'm like, okay, this quarter is one of those very significant that I need to pay a lot of close attention to, either because I see a dramatic opportunity that the market's maybe missing, or the other way where I'm like, hey, things aren't looking good. This is a critical quarter. What most has your eye and attention for the companies that you cover this quarter?
I'm following, well, let me just say, it's like everything is, we're a team. I'm just don't
Yes.
want to be we, and I have a great team. I'm very fortunate to have a great team and great people that work with me. Um, so I got to give them credit, Eyal and Alex on the team. But we are following the biggest story of this earnings season after a short break. No, I'm just kidding. There's no commercial break, right? So it's like Larry King, remember? Like, don't go anywhere. Be right back after the short break. No, consumer credit.
Yeah.
delinquencies. This is a
Yep.
huge story. And is this going to be, like a soft landing with with an E, or a hard landing with an E, right? Like, I don't know. I don't know because, we cover Upstart, which is down sort of the lower FICO, and we love Upstart, but there's definitely, concerns out there. You're
Hmm.
seeing, Tricolor, which I guess was like there's more. I mean, left and right, you're seeing the low end consumer, and a lot of the low end consumer loves fintech
Oh
apps,
yeah.
whether it's payday lending, right? Square has Square Borrow or whatever, or Cash App Borrow. Sorry about that.
Hmm.
So we're following this kind of thing, and we want, as I think it could be like for a firm, I could tell you some of it is just bad rep right now. So they got washed out in the storm, but in fact, like they should be better off because it's like their FICO is all over. It's not just low, it's it could be Daddy pays the bills and like I have no money. It's both, right? And but that is answer your question, long, long answer, but short um, conclusion. We think that's one of the bigger stories this earnings season is
Yeah.
consumer credit on the impact on fintech.
And it's early, so this can change, and you can say it's too early to answer that question. But any leanings on where that falls this quarter? Is it just isolated to a few? I would say bad actors, but a couple of weaker companies that made some mistakes, or is this more widespread than perhaps the market understands?
Probably more isolated to lower FICO, but you want to make sure it's not cancer,
Yeah.
right? So these things could be, credit's always like what gets you, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't understand it, right? The credit is, I mean, if it trickles through and it starts to become a bigger problem, I hope not. We're very bullish on a lot of these names, but to be honest, like there's definitely concerns out there, right? There's subprime auto
Right.
seems to be a problem. You're hearing stuff, every day in the press about these things, right? Um, so there has to be someone that defaults there that's also like maybe has taken like a loan on like one of the fintech apps, and hopefully it's not the ones that we have a buy on, but I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know. I don't know. But you asked me like big story, I'm like usually it's the macro and all that. The other story that we follow is because we cover like Toast and all these merchant acquirers is like, spend in like kind of restaurants, and there has been some chatter here and there and like some weakness, right? On which is all tied, intertwined together, right?
Yeah.
Like restaurant spend and all that. Like we actually are, you know, we, and again, this is all macro. It's, I have very little value added, but I think that's going to be a big theme
Yeah.
because it's impacting the acquirers, it impacts Toast, it impacts Square. So the macro, you don't want the macro to just like implode. And I've seen I've just heard last week from bank earnings that things are fine. So I'm
Yeah.
maybe a little bit less concerned than I was a week ago.
Yeah. That always helps. Of course, American Express as well. Came out, and
Yeah, they're great. They did
yeah.
great. But that's affluent.
Yes, that's true.
It's like it's sort of like what I'm supposed to be.
Yeah,
Although it doesn't feel like that. But it's affluent.
yeah, yeah. No, that is true. So, yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on, and I appreciate that perspective, Dan, and thank you also just for making the time today to chat
Yeah, my
these fintech
pleasure.
names, and
Great,
appreciate all your
great,
coverage this week.
great time hanging out and talking. I'm happy to do it again and hope to see you in one of the next Robinhood events.
Yeah,
AI
absolutely.
thing. Do we know where it is?
I think that one's going to be online, and
Okay. Thank
so
God.
they may have a small cohort that's invited. I don't know that I'll
Okay.
have the time for that, but I have not been
Yeah.
invited either. So
Thank
that I
God,
know.
because I have to go out to the West Coast three times in the next 2 months. So I'll be adding a fourth time will be My wife's not going to be happy with
Yeah.
that.
Likewise, yeah, I make sure to check in with her and like, does this work for
Can I
us?
really go? I
So
know.
yeah, it's always hard when it's like, oh man, I really want to go, and it's part of what I
Exactly.
do. But yeah,
Yeah,
these are
exactly.
exciting times, and
Three
yeah, I'll
times is
definitely
enough
get their
for
event,
this
and
for
we'll have
this
to
year.
do this again.
Yeah.
Thank you.